how would you like to make your first million? And today we have Cole Reifler with us, and he is the founder of Zenith Group of Advisors. And Paul is an entrepreneur and founder advisor driven by a mission to democratize finance to expand access to opportunity. Through his career, Cole has built companies focused on solving different forms of inequality through financial innovation. Through Aurora, he focused on advancing gender equality through finance. Through Forefront, he worked to reduce wealth inequality by giving investors access to product traditional reserve for top 1%. And through Zenith, he's tackling opportunity inequality by bringing institutional financial products and working capital solutions historical available only to investment grades company. So Cole, tell us, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Well, first, it's good to be here. So thank you for having me. And I'll give you the 5. I can't guarantee they'll work, but they've worked for me. Step 1, I would say, be an expert, meaning you want to become an expert in your field prior to launching a company, where if you're not in a field and you don't know it well, it's hard to find the holes. So I was an investment banker for years at the beginning of my career, and I found certain holes in industry and certain holes throughout the investment banking world. And that allowed me to build a firm where if you don't know the business and you're not an expert in it, it's hard to be an entrepreneur. So that's my advice. At first is don't just think of ideas, be an expert in a field, work for a group, work under an advisor, be an expert in that field, and then launch a firm off of that, because you need to find holes to plug. The only way for ideas to work is if they solve certain issues, and you don't know what those issues are until you're an expert in your field.
Then the next one, Paul, after we got that expertise, what we should be doing next?
Step 2 is stay in the game. Stay in the game means easy to close down a business if it's not easy to find other opportunity. But entrepreneurship in general is resilience and your ability to continue to push forward even when the wind is at your front and you're getting pushed back. All of the guys and girls that I know that have done very well have had huge hardships in life and challenges that were hard to overcome. And if you don't have the ability to overcome those challenges and you shut the door down, you could miss out of opportunities in the future. So a big part of entrepreneurship is to continue to push forward despite all odds. And if you feel in your gut that it's going to work, usually it will.
And then Cole, tell us now 3, 4, and 5. What after we overcome this and we kind of unstoppable, and like the name of this podcast, and we overcome our mindset challenges. What are the 3, 4, and 5?
So 3 is remove risk, where when you build a company and you want to attract investors, you want to remove as much risk as you can from the business. The way I've done that with what I've built is usually when you're a lender, you take a lot of risk if your client doesn't pay you back. How we've approached it is we've partnered with insurance groups to wrap all of the loans with an insurance wrapper. So if the borrower doesn't decide to pay us, you have an A-rated insurance group that you've partnered with that will pay the investor directly. So you always want to add elements into a business to attract investors and lower the risk. There's always risk in what you do, but you need to be creative and de-risk what you're doing as much as you can. So you'll be alive and continue to push forward if there's downturns, and you'll also be able to attract investors because the risk of investing will be less.
And then the 4 and 5, after diminish your risk.
4 is obsess over sales. Sales, and
I love this one.
Sales, and I'm a CEO, so I control a business. But at the end of the day, I'm a salesman. Sales of any firm is the most important aspect. If you don't have demand and you don't have good sales, you don't need operations, you don't need a back office, you don't need anything else. So the key to anything is make sure you have a product, make sure you know how to sell that product, and make sure that there's a demand for that product where it makes sense prior to adding operation staff or credit or anything else. Sales is the most important part. So always obsess over sales, because if you don't have sales, you don't have a business.
And
And
the last
then
one?
5 is be comfortable being uncomfortable. Business is hard, risk is hard, entrepreneurship is hard, and you need to put yourself out there and start being comfortable being uncomfortable. Take every opportunity you can, say yes to everything, speak at that event, raise your hand in a big room. Those are the things that you need to do to be successful. You cannot shy away. If you want to be an entrepreneur and create huge change, you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Wow, I love. Let's dig in step 4, Cole, because you're talking about you have to be good at sales, right? And out of the 500 millionaires that we interview in this podcast, yeah, everybody loves sales. I haven't find any millionaire that has show up here that say, Harry, I'm a multimillionaire, but I hate sales. However, when you look out there, uh, people see, oh, this guy I don't like sales. These people want to sell me something. There is a very bad connotation out there when it comes to sales. And people are seeing sales, or people that work in sales and say to people that this is a bad person. And if the sale doesn't happen, nothing happens in society. For me, calling my company, right? I was free when I increased my sales. I agree with you 100% before operation, before anything, because when I increase my sales, I could employ someone that can do a job better than me. And that's increasing the sales gave me freedom. So why do you think, and look at you, we interview successful people like you, and you said, well, embrace sales, love sales, and you're proud, to say that you encourage this in your company. So why there is the 1%, 2% of entrepreneurs or that we love sales. We know that what drive company, and we give us freedom, not only freedom for ourselves, but also help the company thrive and create more jobs. And you create more jobs, you have better economy, and you help your country and so on. Why sales only multimillionaires or self-entrepreneurs like you are loving it and know how important it is and doesn't have a bad connotation, and the rest of the people out there is totally the opposite?
Well, I think the connotation behind sales is going back to a car salesman where you think you're getting pushed bad product. So I think it comes down to the product that you're selling. And yes, obviously, if you're selling somebody a bad product, then it's not good. And then it can be frowned upon. So if you're a car salesman and you're trying to sell a bad car at a high price, that's where the connotation comes from. So I think it comes down to the product that you're selling and the company that you've built, where I always like to say to my salesman, rather than selling it, just introduce it. Introduce what you're doing. Introduce the concept. Introduce how it's going to help them. You don't need to sell them. If the product is built right by introducing it, it will usually sell itself. So you don't need to be a fast talking salesman in order to be successful. Yes, you need to build a relationship with whoever you're trying to sell to, which is an important aspect of sales. But it really, and what I've built in my career is trying to first build great product that are easy to sell and easy to introduce because it helps.
Exactly.
So if you have a product that helps and it helps them grow their business or save them money or get a better house or anything, then it becomes an easier way to introduce product to people. And you don't need to feel like a sleazy salesman because you really believe in what you're offering the client. So that's why I love sales. And it starts with building great product to be able to introduce that to your clients. And if you're able to do that, then all the salesmen love it as well because it becomes more fun because the clients really like it and they appreciate it. And they can tell in your tone that you're really trying to help rather than hurt. You're not trying to sell them an asset that's going to go down in value immediately, and you take some cash up front. You try to help them long term. And if that's what you're offering the clients and you know how to sell it that way, you become very successful.
And also the part that you enhance, like you said, well, we de-risk the risk for our client because we partner with insurance company. So it's maybe, I don't know, maybe the product is a little bit more expensive, but you're de-risking the most you can the product so you for your clients, so it's making more easy to sell because the clients see less risk, right?
Of course. So it's always
Yeah.
about being creative and designing interesting products to help both the investors and the clients. And if you're able to help both, which is what I've been able to do in my career, then both sides are happy and you become very successful. So that's what you need to think about when you're trying to build a business. And that was my first point is it's hard to do that if you're not an expert and you don't really know the business well. Because if you don't know the business, you don't know what investors want and you don't know what clients want. Because the only way you can see that is by being in the industry. And when you feel pain points and pushbacks from clients and say, I like this product, but I wish it had this. And investors say, I like this, but I wish it had this. Then that sparks ideas. And you say, why don't we make something? Does that exist? It doesn't. So let's make what we hear from the feedback from the investors and the clients and make a perfect product. But you can only know that from that feedback, and that's by being in business.
And then the next question is about social responsibility because there are some financial pros out there that they are only available for the rich and wealthy, right? And they are good financial products that can be available actually for a wide range. So, but nobody cares about this percent of the population. Everybody is chasing the rich, which will have more money. And is it possible to do good and make money at the same time with social responsibility and to democratize and give more access to people? Because it's a little bit unfair, right? That everybody that have all the money, all the capital and everything get access to the right product, to the right information, to maximize, and then the people out there they're working hard, right? And they don't see productivity for the money they're earning.
For sure.
So why did you start this journey, Cole, in the first place?
That's a good
You
question.
say you find some gaps.
So
what's the story?
The story is I was an investment banker and I was working at a boutique investment bank, and you saw clearly that the wealthy had access to opportunity and they were the focus of these Wall Street firms, and the smaller investors weren't, and there wasn't a focus for them and the access that they could have to products. So that was the first company that I built, was to target wealth inequality and to try to change the game and bring these interesting opportunities down market. But again, a for-profit business, because it's possible to make money, but you want to be impactful because being an entrepreneur, you need a sense of purpose. And money isn't always purpose. People that chase money will usually fail. You need to chase purpose and impact, regardless if you're impacting people, if you're building a better product, whatever it is. But you need to chase the purpose and the impact to get up every morning. If you're only chasing money, it's usually not going to work. You'll make decisions that aren't prudent. You'll get greedy, and it just, A, it won't work, and B, it won't make you happy. So that's what I got. That's what I found being in a Wall Street company. And then I went out to make it my goal to solve these gaps in markets and build firms to go against the grain, go against what Wall Street usually does, for-profit firms, but big holes in the finance market.
Now, Cole, the transition between corporate to entrepreneur, because when you're in corporate, you can say to sometimes to managers, whatever, okay, I'm sorry, this is not my job. But when you're in business, everything is your job. You're responsible. So there is a different dynamic to be a corporate employee and that to have your own business. And let's face it, you can you earn a very good money. And to be an employee in corporate is actually easy because there is a statistic that 80% of solo entrepreneurs doesn't make even over 100,000. So it's better to have a job. At least Monday to Saturday and Sunday you're free. So why do you take this leap of faith to leaving your corporate career where you are very comfortable? This guy pay you a lot of money to make sure that you're comfortable and you don't go, and you decide to take this massive risk to have your own business, and which is gonna be you time, money, and effort. Now, every time that you make mistake, you pay from your own pocket, and now all of a sudden, everything is your fault. You're responsible for everything. And so, what advice do you have for people that want to do the transition to corporate to having their own business? Because everybody, our listeners, we have a lot of corporate listeners that want to do the transition to become their own entrepreneur. And they say in this podcast, well, Harry, this is what happened. I was there in my corporate job, making a lot of money. I'm very comfortable. COVID happened. They fired me. Now I have my job, my business. And I'm doing, I wish that I did that early. Other people are saying that they started the business and they was, you know, what they were thinking. Oh, I can fill my own calendar. I can travel the world. I can do this. They were not prepared for that transition. So tell us about your journey, the transition from corporate to entrepreneur. What message do you have for your for in corporate now that want to do the transitions, entrepreneur, the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Look, first of all, entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. So everybody shouldn't be an entrepreneur. So my advice isn't for everybody to leave their jobs and try to build a business. That's not my advice. Entrepreneurship is a very challenging game. And it takes a kind of person that has kind of the guts and the persistence to be an entrepreneur. You need to be able to handle risk at a large scale, risk of not having income, risk of having employees, risk of, once you have employees and clients, you support families, and so it becomes larger than just you, right? It's just you and a job. There's much more risk there. So you need to have the ability to be able to handle risk. And then it's where you are in life. It's easier to take risks early on in life when you have less to lose. When you have families and obligations, it becomes a little bit more of a challenge. So I definitely understand that. But I think there's ways to do it where you can build product. And if there's demand there and you feel that they're on your back, then it's an easier transition to leave your company and to build the business. So my advice is, if you have a family and you have some sort of obligations, isn't just to leave and try to start a business. You have a lot of free time in a corporate job. If it's a 9 to 5, that's the good thing about it. And you can take your free time to start to build something on the side to make sure it's viable prior to leaving the business. So I think there's some parts to it. If you're young, like I was, and you don't have much to lose, easier to take big swings and easier to say, look, I don't like what's going on here, and I'm passionate and I think this is going to work. So let's go all out and see what happens. And a lot of times it won't work, which is great, and you'll learn a lot from them. And that's part of life. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to be able to be a risk taker. You got to be able to handle risk, and accept that everything isn't going to work. And once you accept that, then my advice is leave and see what will happen. Because if you want to have huge success and make huge impact, the only way to do that is to build your own business. The only way. Doing that from inside a corporate is very challenging. Can you be impactful to a corporation? Of course. If you want to change industries, if you want to change the world, if you want to give back in a big way, you need to be a change maker. And that takes huge risk to leave a company to build something that you believe in.
And but when you're young and you take this decision, I'm gonna have my own business. So what happened? Do you talk to your parents? That anybody around you tell you that this is a little bit crazy? That it was not a good idea? Or
You'll have a lot of people that don't agree with it, but that's part of it, right? And that's part of.
I mean, they want the best for you, and they see, well, this kid very young, already making a lot of money in a very safe job. Why is drop all this to do what? A business about what? Who's gonna buy this? This to do it. So it's difficult it happened to me also, right? My dad, my mom, the whole family, my family is entrepreneurs. So imagine It was a big chaos. Everybody kind of waiting that something goes wrong to tell me, I told you. I
Yeah.
got a degree in
No.
chemical engineering and they all want me to find a job. It's the dream of my dad for me to find a job. You know, he still doesn't understand what I do. And if tomorrow I tell to my dad, listen, I find a job, they pay me a lot of money, he will be the happiest person in the world. So it's difficult for us. It's still that we need to dealing with the whole challenge of make the business grow and work and sell it and create product that diminishes the risks and the employees and the scaling up and so on. We need to deal also with the family, girlfriend, whatever is around, also that love us and they want the best for us. And they won't agree with this, with correct. How you handle this? How you handle it?
Look,
You some people did it in secret. Some people get the podcast and said, look, I didn't tell anything to my dad, to my parent, to anybody for a year,
yeah.
and that is how I did it. So
Yeah,
how you
no,
handle it?
I was very open about it, but it self-confidence because you need to have the ability to have that energy come from within and not from externally, right? So if you require external validation, it makes it much more challenging. If you can say deep within your soul, this is who you are and this is what you want, there'll always be naysayers. That's part of it. That's part of being a misfit. It's part of entrepreneurship. It's part of any great entrepreneur. We don't fit in, right? We work for big groups. We are, right? We don't fit the mold. So we do something different and we change how things work. And it comes from within. If you have to look outward for that validation, you won't ever get there. So you need to have the passion and the confidence internally to take on those headwinds and to take on everybody saying, what are you doing? It's impossible to build a firm when you're 23 and on Wall Street. Nobody's ever done that. You're not going to be successful. What do you need gray hair to make money on Wall Street? There'll always be people, but if you don't have
A lot of
people,
competition.
a lot of competition, antiquated business, a corrupt business on Wall Street, hard to do well when you're young and you're not a part of a big firm. So always naysayers, but it comes down to passion and self-confidence. And if in your soul you believe that's what you want to do and it's going to work, it's worth the risk. Go.
Then, Cole, I'm still want to expand a little bit more about your purpose because I'm a big fan of democratizing things and to give access to more people, right? And more, we need products like yours that give more access to solutions, not only to the elite, but to to a lower layer. Say, even to a lower level of investors, and also for the people out there. So why do you think that those products are designed only for the very wealthy people only, and these big companies doesn't want to take the lower tiers? It's because it's a lot of work, because it's not worth it, or what do you think that is the main reason? Because it's my understanding that there are very good pro finance pros out there, especially if you package it well, like you discussing with the insurance company and everything, right? Good for the investors, for the client. Everybody have to do their own due diligence in the money they invest. But what do you think that there is so much challenge in democratizing the good things, the good financial pros out there? For example, in London, where I live, if you don't, there are some investment banks that if you don't have 10 million, $25 million, they won't even speak with you. They don't talk to
Um,
you.
no, for sure. Well, look, Wall Street and finance is an antiquated business. It's been around for thousands of years, and there hasn't been much change, which is a big problem. A lot of regulation, and it's hard to make change in a business that's overly regulated. A little bit corrupt, right? Where you try to keep the money with the 1%, which is why they have access to the best opportunities. And as we know, the world isn't a fair place, and Wall Street works off that. So there isn't a reason other than the fact that the SEC or the regulators view those who have a certain amount of net worth as being not educated, which makes no sense because you can think about teachers, you can think about writers, you can think about the most educated humans in the world that might not have a net worth, but shouldn't they be able to access great products and invest in great products? It doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
So that's what I went out to change, because you looked at the landscape and you said, why are the best opportunities being reserved only for people that have a high net worth? And most of that net worth for most of the investors, it's passed down. It's a generational wealth. So it's not like they're deeply educated and they built a business and they know how to invest. A lot of it's generational wealth. So they might not be that educated, or they might not know investing at all. But because they inherited a certain amount from their great grandfather, they have access. So that's not a fair way for the business to run.
100%, I agree. And Cole, what is this sense of social responsibility that have to be with your values, with your core values? Where? Because I see the different products that you have developed. You always trying to democratize something that is not fair. So, what is this of social responsibility? We talk a lot about this topic in this podcast, which is social responsibility. Do good and make money at the same time, right? Democratize things, make it fair for everybody. The other thing is, equality, right? Like we see companies out there. One of my clients, she's in London. She's a Harvard graduate, okay, and she was hired to be in a C-level in an investment bank, and she found out after a year or two that they hired her just only to because she was a woman, but they were not taking any opinions of her, any consideration of there, anything in the C level thing. They needed women in the C level look good in the company, but so she realized that and she left. So especially this finance is a very male-dominated space, and social responsibility is not only about recycling the plastic bottle. It's about hiring people from different races, ethnics, and give equal opportunity to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're women, if you're a man, if you're Chinese, if you're black, if you're white. So where this sense of social responsibility came to through you as value as a person, that everything in business, everything that you approach, you're trying to democratize something.
Yeah, look, I've always had a big heart, and always, wanted to be hugely impactful in life and to give back in a big way. And again, it's learning from experience and to see how unfair markets are and businesses are while you're in them. And when you have a heart and you're very passionate, you want to solve certain problems. And a lot of people like to play the game on Wall Street and not go against the grain because they get rewarded for it. But it's back to an entrepreneur and being a misfit and saying, I don't want to play that game and just do like what everybody else does and make money. I can still do well, but I want to go against what their values are.
What if the impact that you create is it got better value for people that actually, because everybody measure in ourselves how much money we have in a bank account, and we should measure it ourselves. What is the impact? What is the legacy that we leave in the world, right? That how much do you have in a bank account? Because to be honest, how much do you really need, right?
Correct. So there's much more to life than making money. And that's what goes back to when I was talking about sales, is you want to build products that you are passionate about and are impactful. So it's easier to sell and easier to introduce to clients. So I think you can build really impactful products that do well just because you're passionate about them, and they can become very impactful. So, that's always been what I've seen in the markets. And what I've went out to change is go against the antiquated Wall Street models, and let's build businesses to impact in a big way and to cause big change that needed for hundreds of years to bring, gender inequality, wealth inequality, opportunity inequality. There's all of these things that there's so much to do, and few people really look at it because weren't inside like I was, and they don't know how unfair the whole game is. And when you do, and you have opportunity to be able to create change, that's a beautiful thing. So that's where I found myself. I said, look, I'm 23 years old. I'm, doing okay, but I have opportunity to create businesses that a lot of other people don't. So you have to use that skill set and those opportunities for good rather than to continue to go up the corporate ladder.
Then also call that the fulfillment. Money is not gonna make you happy. Fulfillment, the way when you transform someone's life, when you create an impact, that the level of fulfillment that you can experience is you get paid in another currency. You get paid in better currency in I think when I'm sometime in the metro in London, the people tell me, Harry, let's take a picture. I saw your conference, man. I did this in my business and I grow it, man. And I have that was wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm like, which conference? I don't even remember, not even the conference he's talking about. I not even what I say, but they do. And you arrive home and you're thinking it's unbelievable that I say something and resonate with that person and it changed their life, it changed the business and I get an impact. So you get paid with it. And this currency is about love and appreciation, and about respect for people out there. You don't get sick. I have so many people that always tell me, Harry, I wish you well. Thank you so much for this. It's so much positive energy that people are sending to you that you are in a different space, right? And and again, we have this stereotype in society that we should be measured of how much money we have in the bank or how much physical stuff we have, but any of that will make you really happy. Fulfillment, transform people's life. That we are human beings on the first place in our nation. Then you find out that they are multimillionaires and they kill themselves. And you're like, how come this guy had so many millions and commit suicide or don't speak with the children, don't speak with the family or house, right? So calling someone is in love with conversation and they want to know even more about your products, how people can find you, how this process works.
Yeah, so you can go to zenithgroupadvisors.com. That's our website. Zenith, Zenith Group Advisors, Advisors. That's our website. You can reach out to us. My email is to C Reifler, my first of my first name, Reifler, at zenithgroupadvisors.com. You can go Reifler.com as well. I have my own website if you want to reach out to me. And I'll get back to you if you need any advice in terms of entrepreneurship. If you want to take risk, if you don't want to take risk, if you need investment advice, I've been doing this for a long time. And again, if you want to get back, always willing to help. So if you have any questions about anything, please reach out.
Oh, tell us a little bit more about your products, especially the working capital. I saw that you have experience of this. Sometimes for entrepreneurs starting out, working capital and grants and loans, business loan, that could be a very big help for entrepreneurs starting out at the beginning. So do you have any products can help people with this? Can you describe them a little bit more before we conclude?
Yeah, so we built a company called Zenith Group Advisors, which is a supply chain finance company. And what we saw was that the supply chains in general are antiquated. And oftentimes when you build a business, all you want with suppliers is extended payment terms, meaning if you buy goods, you want a period of time to pay them back, call it 90 days. And what we do is we turn the model on its head. So we pay the suppliers directly on behalf of our clients up front. So the suppliers don't have to hold on to risk, which is called payment terms. And then we give our clients a period of time to pay us back so they can turn those products into a finished good, sell them to their retailer or through e-com, and collect the money to pay us down. So the goal is to really help build revenue for businesses by enhancing how they're buying product and making them be able to buy product more efficiently. So that's what we've built. And the goal is this product is usually reserved for grade clients and Fortune 400s, where these interesting nuance, and they're called off-balance sheet finance products, that if you're very big, if you're Walmart, you can have access to these products. But as you go down market, you usually either don't know about them and you don't have access to them. So we built a business to give these interesting, creative, not expensive products to help build SMEs and mid-cap clients. And that's the opportunity inequality that we're solving now, is trying to bring interesting, nuanced products down market to give everybody equal opportunity, because everybody should have access to a product like this that is a no-brainer. It helps you buy product and inventory, and it extends the terms. You don't need upfront for the goods. You can wait to get paid from your buyer and then pay us down. So it only helps you grow, and you don't need to bring any cash out of pocket. So that's what we're doing, which I love. And as I said at the beginning, for our investors, we put insurance over the whole thing, so they don't really have much risk. And clients love it because we don't take security, so we don't take any liens on assets. It's not expensive, so it's really built to help a company grow what they're doing and build sales, which to the 5 points
they can operate, can grow like this.
Correct. So it's capital, increasing the money they have to be able to buy supplies, to increase their revenue. That's a big part of what we're doing.
Sometimes they have orders, they cannot fulfill it because they don't have the finance to do so.
They don't have
right?
the capital. Correct.
Exactly.
So that's a good place to be in, where you have demand and you don't have the money to meet the demand, which goes back to the sales comment, where you have the demand, which is good, but if you don't have the money to buy product, then you don't have revenue. Then you have interested clients, but you don't have revenue. So in order to get that, that's where we get involved.
Fantastic. Cole, thank you so much for the broadcast. I think you're brilliant. And look, through his window, you can see the Liberty statue from New York, right? So you have an amazing view. You deserve it. You work so hard, and you creating pros to democratize finance to lower tiers, which we are very big fan of this approach here in this podcast. We talk a lot about inclusion, democratizing, and give fair opportunity for people out there. So thank you so much, Cole, for the podcast. And for all of you following the podcast, see you in our next episode on Stop of how brave entrepreneurs like Cole break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.